Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly podcast with Dev Hacks 360, and today we're going to cover very sensitive topic: 5 pitfalls that the rookie test automation engineers make during interviews, which cost them a job. So stay until the end because it's going to be very interesting discussion coming from our guest today, Mykola, who is a seasonal as that. He is a senior test automation engineer, what we call software engineer in test, working at Grammarly right now, has ample experience in the Playwright and other web automation frameworks. And he's going to share his experience from the interviews he conducted for the past 6 months. And that definitely will help you if you're right now for the job hunt.
Hey, thank you for introducing me.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you here. And as a regular co-host, Vasyl, I mean, he doesn't need introduction anymore because we introduce him pretty much at every podcast right now. He definitely have something to share because along with Mykola, they all together conducting test assessments, and they reveal those 5 common mistakes that a lot of beginners make, which you guys gonna like to have behind your belt. Why? Because when you are preparing for the interview, you want to make sure you nail it, right? So stay until the end. And Vasyl, thank you so much for joining once again.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited to have this topic today.
Absolutely. And again, the idea for this podcast didn't come out of the blue. The reason we have this podcast today is because, again, we start noticing during the interviews, and I'm talking about coding interviews, that folks keep making the same and same mistake. And the idea with Mykola and Vasyl came recently is like, why don't we just shoot a podcast and help you guys? So we're going to go one by one. Again, we identified 5 common pitfalls. We're going to go one by one and make sure that you can exercise through this each mistake and make it as your strengths rather than a weakness. So the first thing we're going to go, which is very common, it's a lack of preparation. Vasyl, you probably have something to say about this.
Yeah, thanks. So one of the biggest issue I face with, especially with the senior candidates, I see that they're underestimating the importance of preparation itself. So it doesn't matter how senior you are, the interview is your chance to shine. So, but many comes unprepared. We are asking the basics sometimes, like the test pyramid, and you will be surprised, Igor, how many candidates are just simply don't remember the basics of the pyramid. And it's not the complex stuff, right? Every junior know it. So we didn't get it how the senior could not prepare himself.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. That a lot of people basically come unprepared, thinking because they do day-to-day job, they can pull off the interview. But unfortunately, interview is a separate skill. And I noticed that you have to spend at least a month before you jump in interviews. I would say like athletes, right? The great analogy, athletes, they have to prepare for Olympic Games or the World Championships, so they have to prepare, and they're spending years for preparation. Same thing with the brain. You need to exercise and get a certain state, create your stories, just to kind of refresh what's going on in the industry. Why? Because the industry in the testing field is shifting very quickly right now, right? Due to the AI, machine learning, as well as the blockchain. So people have to be prepared to be on top of the trends, right? So preparation is the key. Absolutely. So what is your tip of advice for people like, obviously preparation is like, yeah, prepare, but what is your fine-tuned recipe for preparation? What exactly they have to prepare for?
Yeah, listen, I would just suggest, to go through the basic questions. There is a ton of them in Google. Like revisit the testing concepts, right? Even if you think, all right, I'm a senior and this is the basic, they definitely not going to ask you. We want to ask you those questions to actually see your expertise in that. And of course, practice the coding challenge, just before stepping up into the room. Mykola, do you have anything to add to this?
I think I totally agree with you about all previous points. And yeah, actually, I have only two tips: prepare and learn more. and don't be relaxed on the interview, because yeah, if you like thinking you know everything, right, that's not true.
Yep, great piece of advice. A lot of folks worry about nowadays about coding challenge and specifically algorithms. A lot of, especially US-based companies, asking for algorithms, right, as the first step. Would you say anything like how would you prepare for algorithms besides just basically go link.com, like any other maybe advice from either of you? How to actually not freak out, right? What are the like important things you have to do when people just drop the algorithm as you have no idea how to solve it? Maybe Vasyl, you have some. We can start with you, and then Mykola can pick it up from there.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't learn the algorithms by one night. But for me, it should be a routine before the preparing to the interview itself. Let's say you have 1 week, so why not establish some routine for every day? Doing couple tasks for on a platform like Codewars or LeetCode or any of them. Yeah, that would be just my advice to make it a routine task.
Thank you, Mykola. You have anything to add on top of what
I
Vasyl
think yeah,
said?
I agree that there are a lot of like websites on the internet. There are a lot of programs when you can learn, when you can like even subscribe on a daily challenges with like different algorithm tasks from the famous tech companies, right? When you can like um, spend at least 1 hour per day for technical solving stuff, and that will be totally enough. Like if you will challenge yourself for a week, you will be successful for an interview, or at least you can answer like some basic technical questions or resolve some technical stuff.
No, absolutely. All you said is very valuable advice. I think in terms of algorithms, I have noticed that the best way to prepare is to have a coach, right? Somebody like a mentor, which actually will help you to on a regular basis, like a training, right? You have personal, like PT, personal trainer, right? You have on a weekly or bi-weekly basis work together. It works very well, and not just going through the only lead code challenges, but actually throughout various platforms, see what actually company is asking, because a lot of times algorithms are hidden inside the question itself, right? So it's sometimes it's not explicitly tell you which algorithm, if it's going to be graph, right, or just simple traverse through a string. They're not going to tell you that, right? But the best way I've learned is a conversation, and a lot of times when companies asking for algorithms, they want from you to actually converse, right? Just like at the regular job, when you don't know what you're doing, you have to start asking right questions, like what we try to solve here, right? What's going to be the input for this algorithm, and start brainstorm ideas. And usually the interviewer will help you out. They will actually walk you through this solution with you together and give you hints how to solve it, which can give you an idea. But without preparation, you still not be able to pull it off. So you still have to practice. But if you're gonna get cornered and like, oh, you know what? I don't know what are the answer for this algorithm. Don't freak out. Just ask, like, you know what? I'm a little bit puzzled. So let's go step by step, right? And by the way, we are having at the Genius, we are running our Discord community, and we have a dedicated channel for interview preparation for algorithms. So you can find the link down below for this video to join our community, and you can ask folks like Mykola and Vasyl, and we have 460 more people there, actually professional test automation engineers. You can ask them about like those questions, like if you're puzzled, and we and our community sharing interesting challenges from various companies like Google, Facebook, Walmart, Peloton. So again, by joining community, not only you will be exposed to the problem solution, but you can actually talk to real people there. So join our community. We'll be more than happy to have you there. Again, the link down below to joining the Discord. All right, let's continue this conversation. And we're going to go to next pitfall, which is the poor understanding of QA or quality assurance fundamentals. I'm sure Mykola has something to say about that.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Actually, it's common mistakes. I performed a couple of senior engineers interviews and for junior engineers, and they have like both mistakes. Like engineer with 5 years experience or engineer with 3 months experience. They have the same basic problems. They don't know like the key fundamentals. Basically, what they're doing in interview, they're like, I'm asking, for example, what is like regression testing, and they're like, tell me ICQB terms, like, and when we go aside from this, like, let's say you're an engineer, you come to the project, right? We have like 100 automation tests or 100 test case suits, and your task is to like source those test cases for a regression suit, and or what test cases will you include in the suit, and they're totally stuck with this. Like they don't ask questions, they don't know like how to logically solve them, right? And that's a problem. And why you don't ask questions, why you don't like be curious about the question itself. I mean, like, what types of test cases are there like functional, are there like integration test cases, what they're doing, what is the base. So interviewer want you to ask questions and know the basics. And yeah, that's a common problem, I think. And my advice actually will be to just like know the basics, know the fundamentals, know what integration, functional regression testing is, what is smoke testing is, because without this you can like resolve such like simple tricky questions. And yeah, I think that's the common mistake.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Mykola. Absolutely. I've noticed myself when I interview a lot of folks, and then throughout my career, long career, more than 15 years, I interviewed more than 1,000 people. And common mistake, like I said, again, coming back to the first pitfall, right? The first mistake people make not preparing, people not revisiting the fundamentals. Why? Because you cannot build the skyscraper without the foundation. You need to have a good foundation. A lot of folks jumping to test automation, which is engineering, right? Which is coding, without understanding the fundamental principles, right? How to write good readable test cases. What is a significant risk assessment, right? Because a lot of times people don't know what is an automate, right? Like you said. Another thing is, and probably the most important thing, because nowadays everybody crumble into weekly releases, so you have to cut a lot of corners. So that's where the fundamental is going to play a huge role. What we have to test, what we cannot test, right? And identify that. So I truly agree. We're not talking about coding yet. We're talking about just principles, right? How to like set up the process from scratch, like triages, how often you do triages, how to build the quality control in the team, how to build quality culture in the team, taking ownership, what is the difference between weak test case and good test case, bugs, right? How to avoid hot fixes, how to shifting left, how to test like within the pull request and not like later in the regression, and automation is just basically optimization of these processes, right? So without those fundamentals, you cannot even like lean on automation, because like I said, without good foundation, the building will fall apart. Vasyl, would you like to add anything on top of that?
Yeah, I just have a small thought on this. So the tools will come and go, but the strong foundation will always be relevant.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we're gonna take a pause from our discussion. I would like to make a huge thanks to all sponsors of this channel, DevHacks 360, Marathon Labs. Marathon Labs is the software as a service solution that enables companies to run their mobile tests in the speed of light. For the matter of fact, they can run more than 1,000 tests under 15 minutes, which enable companies to shifting from weekly regression runs or daily regression runs to every pull request. So thank you, Marathon, for sponsoring us, this particular channel and this particular podcast. And if you would like to find out more about Marathon and get their free proof of concept using it, I know they give you more than 50 hours for free to try the platform. You can find the link down in the description. All right, let's continue with our discussion, which jump us to the next common mistake that a lot of rookies do during the interview is not to stay up to date with the industry trends. Vasyl, what are those trends and how you reveal this during the interview?
So once I'm asking a question about that new trends or what is your source of knowledge? Often the seniors stuck with this question, and it is a deal breaker for many. So the industry is moving really fast. We want to duplicating ourselves about AI. We have tons of video and webinars with using AI. So an engineer who don't keep up like. They will come across outdated. For instance, if you're unfamiliar with the practices like API first testing, contract testing, or integrating performance testing into the CI pipelines, you are going to struggle, right? And the things I'm saying, those things are already pretty basics for a lot of folks, like a CI and performance testing, but we always need to keep up with the trends. I've seen like candidates with the no awareness of merging tools and the latest industry trends. It's a red flag for many interviewers because it's a signal for lack of curiosity and adaptability.
Thank you. Yeah, that's actually great thoughts about this. Mykola, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I've noticed one more interesting thing, especially it will be actual for West Tech companies. It's about accessibility because in my previous interviews, in my previous companies, it was very important, and the interviewers actually asked the question as automation engineer, how you will like test accessibility. And sometimes I'm asking this question too when I see like um, that candidate is working with Cypress or the Playwright. I always ask question, how are you testing accessibility on your projects? And they always struggle with that
No, that's
certainty.
really, really good tips. Absolutely. And accessibility is actually a very sensitive topic. Why? Because the company gets sued for millions of dollars. But to be honest, very few companies who test this. And more than that, there's like single compliance, double A compliance, triple A compliance. There's different checks for mobile and web accessibility that a lot of people have no idea how to test, not mentioning how to automate. And it's very tedious to do it on iOS, much easier to do on Android, and obviously way simpler to do on web. But there's also desktop applications need to go through that. Like I said, it's bugs that can cost company millions of dollars. Good thing you brought this up. Accessibility is one of these, but there are other trends which is very like I would say on the hype right now, like AI, how to test LLMs, right? How to test the models for the machine learning, right? How to test, how to validate data. That's another big topic. Blockchain, all right? Like I mean, if you pull right now, like probably 50% of the folks, from the interviewing pool, like candidates, I think they will struggle to answer these questions. I think people are supposed to follow trends through different channels. Like obviously there is LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. Like there is a channel like Joe Colantonio, right, on YouTube. You can follow on latest trends. Our channel is lately, we're gonna start pushing a lot of things on that matter. Again, our Discord community has a lot of discussions. If you guys again click on the link down below in the description for this video, you can join the community. We'll also always discuss the latest trends. But if you come to interview, an interviewer asking question like give me like 3 4 trends and you cannot pull it off, or you cannot explain where you're getting this information from, conferences, local meetups, or any community, online community, you're in trouble. You better stay up to date. So thank you, Vasyl and Nicole, sharing with your thoughts on this. I think it's really, really important, and I've seen a lot of people failing interview on that particular question.
Can I add one more stuff about the trend?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Very important thing for me and some companies, especially when they're using like some like high load product, let's say with millions of users, right? Learn performance. Performance testing is very important, and it can save like an accessibility, let's say millions of dollars for the companies. They can like troubleshoot a lot of bugs which will be unobvious for the regular testing, and when you know like at least one or two tools for performance testing, it will be a very huge plus for your CV, and it's a good tool for
100%.
learning.
100%. Cannot agree more with you said. A lot, and I would say like out of let's say 100 people interview, only one or two people know how to do performance testing. And I'm not talking about JMeter. I'm not talking about Load Runner. I'm talking about the modern tools that enable you from the UI or functional layer hit performance. Like I know like a lot of frameworks in conjunction with Playwright already available to start testing performance. And when we're talking about performance like vertically, right, from the client side all the way to database and bare metal, right, that type of monitoring tools already exist. Like New Relic has the baked in features for the performance. Not mentioning SLAs, right, measuring like degradation system. Like for instance, for mobile, I know out of the box, Android Studio has the memory profiler, and on in Xcode there's a baked-in tools that comes out of the box to test the memory leaks, right? So you can even start on functional layer of a client side, not even going back end, because I don't know, a lot of folks thinking like about performance in the context of backend, but there's a front end also involved and can heavily play the role in the performance as well. Right. So I think it's a very good point, Mykola, you brought in, knowing the performance tools. And there's like three things also a lot of folks cannot distinguish, right? Load, performance, and stress. They think it's the same thing, but it's not. The all three separate type of testing, conducting at with different tools. Sometimes some tool sets is similar, some not, but it's different techniques and approaches. Very good point. And a lot of folks don't know that, especially in the hard times as right now when we have hundreds of candidates per open job. You need to distinguish yourself by providing this skill set. Vasyl, anything else on your side you want to add on performance?
Yeah, I think from the interview perspective, just make yourself familiar, even if there's some playwright additional tool like artillery or any else. It's always better to have at least some knowledge of that. I know that a lot of like big companies are doing the performance testing on other layer than QA, but still, in many of them there is a lot of still QA responsibility. So get yourself familiar with it.
Amazing. Yeah, great. Let's guys move to the next one, number 4, which is actually my favorite. It's called lack of problem solving. Mykola, you would like to share some experience from the interviews on that matter?
Yeah, definitely. um I don't know even from which point I need to begin, because actually when I perform in an interview, I love to ask candidate or about some like life problems which can occur on the project or in the company, some like understand his life experience, let's say his work experience. And one actually thing which I am asking on the interview, let's say we have like a circle on a web application with a circle with a like just a click button, right? And you must write a test on it. And 90% of candidates just like starting, okay, I will go to the website, I will like do this and that, and don't ask a question and all, and they're like just silent. And actually then I started to saying like, this is not the typical circle. You can like locate the button, the circle is rotates across the screen, and you have like you can do whatever you want. You have like dev team, you can ask dev teams. I even give some hints for candidates how, like, I want you to ask question, please do this, I want you to help. And actually they struggle, like 90% of candidates have struggled with that. And only 10% I start asking, okay, yeah, I have a circle, I can like find the locator of the circle in the DOM. Okay, I can like get some coordinates of this. Maybe I can like ask the dev team, please give me like some function or some API which I can interact with this like circle, get this coordinates, get the locator. I can like maybe write some screenshot tests for this to like make the screenshot first, like just asking questions. And um, involve your experience to the answer. Like, think widely. Don't be like shy to ask the questions. That's the point. And actually, it's a big problem for let's say 90% of the candidates, unfortunately, from my experience.
Interesting. I never thought about this, but it's a very good example. Thank you for sharing with that. While you actually talk about this, I was thinking about another skill that, it's part of problem solving, but would be nice to hear from you or Vasyl is about debugging, right? How often you encounter that folks do not know how to debug, and maybe you can like share with us one or two examples. If not, maybe Vasyl has something to share.
Vasyl, you want to start? I have a fresh memory from the last interview, actually.
Yeah, I mean, just I had some notes actually about the debugging, and sometimes I'm proposed to to just debug a flaky test, and I see the folks still using the console log, which is completely okay, But there's more effective ways, especially if we are in a playwright. If somebody works with a playwright a lot, and I like what Mykola mentioned before, and I think. Often the QAs on the interview like approach testing just mechanically, without actually truly thinking about the problem. Because what you propose the application with the circle is clearly saying that ask me more, ask me more. So they are just focusing on the, kind of like focusing on the automation without identifying the application gaps or what do we actually need.
Yeah, what we actually test, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think the number one problem I notice among beginners or like I would say junior automation engineers is the lack of questions. They don't come prepared of having a healthy conversation, drilling down, like basically have a like brainstorm session with the interviewer, like speaking out loud. And I think that's what reveals why they are junior, because people who are more senior are more provoking interviewer to dive deeper into the problem, which reveals that you can collaborate, right? Because a lot of people, when think about seniority, like junior, middle, senior, in our company we have IC levels, individual contributor 1, 2, 3, 4. In US companies, they have 6, 7 levels of ICs, and the most important thing is not actually engineering skill. There are other verticals they're going to check for you, which is communication skills, right? Which is very, very important. Team skills, how you can work with the team, because nobody wants to work with silos. So problem solving is not one man show, right? You have to be able to collaborate with the interviewer as your future team member. And that's why they interview, because they're hiring a teammate, right? They want to make sure not only you smart, you can actually talk and solve problems together, right? Not just individually. So it's very important during problem solving to communicate, right? And debugging is a perfect example. In the Visual Studio, if we talk about Playwright or if we talk about XUA task X code, right? It doesn't matter. All you're starting and putting breakpoints, right? You start using tools in console that enables you to actually debug the problem and ask questions along the way. If test is flaky, you basically express your ideas how you're gonna find, how you're gonna nail the problem of this flakiness, and then together discuss how you're gonna solve it. Right? That's the key. Yeah, good thing you guys brought up number 4. Like I said, is my favorite one.
Out of this discussion, I just wanted to mention that I will have the bonus pitfall I said. It's kind of will be funny, so stay till the end.
Oh, that's great. I love this. I like the bonuses ones.
Yeah, me
So
too.
let's get excited about this, especially our watchers. I'm sure that the guys who view our recorded session, they will be excited for the bonus one. But we promised 5, right? So we'll go to the last one, the last promise one before the bonus one. It's focusing on automation without understanding the architectural, right, or architecture solid principles. For a lot of people, like what is a solid is, right, and why we're supposed to care about this. And this is actually a perfect example what reveals the beginner from the senior engineer, because again, SDATs, which stands for Software Development Engineering Test, right, considered to be a senior person. So SALT principles, and I'm sure Mykola will actually share a vivid example of where the what we call page object model, right, POM, is actually running short, and where the rookies reveal they're actually beginners or junior versus senior reveal they're seniors. I would like to
Yeah,
hear Mykola's thoughts about this.
yeah. Actually, before we are going to the live sharing, I want to mention that AI now is like, I think, more enemies than a friend for the rookie candidates. And I want to show one example from the last interview, and I was like a bit like I'm more than sure that it's 90% it was written by the CI. Let me share the screen. Here we have like just simple login test with a typical page object infrastructure, but the devil in the details. As we mean, when I first time see this, I was sure that like, what is happening here? What the heck? And the task was like just write a simple test with based on a play array and implement the basic page object model. What we may see here, it's a lot of redundant logic built over the simple page object. Let's We have actions here, we have config, we have pages, we have the test itself. And first time when I wanted to just take a look on the test, and I was like, something weird is happening here. Maybe you guys see like what's the problem over here.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, the I don't understand why do we need the browser setup if the playwright do it by itself.
Yeah. uh, Also, we can see the v test here. It's a test runner which are using actually mostly for some unit tests from my experience, and it's present here. I don't know what, instead of core playwright structure for the test, we have it, which is strange too. We have like some browser utils, close in the browser, and as we may know, Playwright is doing by itself, so it's already suspicious. But wait for it.
Yeah,
We have
it's actually very smelly code, right? Why you try to wrap them in a test? It's
Yeah,
basically boilerplate code. No, absolutely. What you said is actually music to my ears, because a lot of beginners try to use the GPT or any other LLMs for solving a problem without actually investing their time,
exactly.
right, into the problem and solution, at least clean it up, right? But that's very interesting. I would like to see how what other things besides what you showed, what other traits. And I'm sure the folks who are watching us right now, this is going to be the pivotal point for you guys, like in terms of architectural stuff, because Mykola has ample of experience in this.
Thank you. Yeah, and just just some more info about this test work. As we may see, they have like wrappers on browser utils. I don't know why. We have even custom errors implemented, and I'm more 100% sure that this is AI work. Why? Because the player have perfect native errors, and the only way when you need to like implement some custom errors, it's for API or where you like intercepting something and you need the customer to understand that something went wrong, only in this way. And as we may see, actions is actually a page object. In pages, they're like locators. So yeah, this is like a busted 100% AI. Yeah, that's all from my side from the sharing example.
Okay, we mentioned one word when we talk about focusing on automation with understanding of architecture, which is solid. Solid is acronym, so basically it's not the word, right? So it's annotation. And I would like Vasyl to talk about what is a solid principle and how it's applicable for architecture, and how a lot of beginners not actually following this. So maybe for those folks who are watching this video right now, it's basically give you a buzz to go and learn about SALT principle. It's going to help you a lot, not only during an interview, but actually at your job. Vasyl, can you break down the solid principle, how it's applied in test automation, specifically in building the scalable page object, what we call page object model, or abstraction layer of architecture?
It's actually easy how to detect, how to detect the junior instead of senior, because junior actually do not understand how the page object model itself work and what our solid principles are. They are using the magic without understanding it. So I would go with the abbreviation of the solid, where the S stand for single responsibility principle, the O for the open close, L for the least code substitution, interface segregation, and D for dependency inversion. And I know this is a lot to explain, but speaking of the page object model itself, the most important we need to focus to keep maintainable code base is basically the single responsibility principle. So if you have the page object, you basically have one page, one class, right? This is the single responsibility. And the second one will be about the open close principle. So this means the classes should be extensible but not modified. You know those base pages sometimes QA have when the 100 lines of code, and that's basically about it. So the base page should be super simple, and that's actually the solid principles. And there is other things we can apply to the page object, but those are the most important for me. What do you think about that, Mykola?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also want to mention two custom principles. They call dry and kiss. Dry is repeat yourself, and kiss is keep it stupid simple. Because I'm busy now in the project with refactoring tests, and I'm migrating from Cypress to the Playwright. And code was written actually by engineers, not by QAs. And it's like complicated, to be honest. And a lot of functions, because of functions, some functions are repeating yourself. Don't do this. Like, keep the code simple, accessible for everyone, and just like um, don't repeat the basic stuff. Keep everything in one place. Yeah, sorry for that. Ow.
No, sounds great. Sounds great. Yeah, I agree with both of you. You have to, when you're thinking about architecture of your test, you have to apply the existing principle for one simple reason. Somebody besides you have to maintain this. Would it be a developer or your teammate or somebody else? You want to make sure it's really simple. By following these principles, you will not have any hard time whenever the UI changes in application or functionality to quickly update the test. And I've noticed, like you mentioned, a lot of spaghetti code, a lot of repetition in the code, unstructured code create a lot of pain during the refactoring. And you're going to spend probably 80% of your time of not writing new tests, but maintaining existing tests, keep fixing them, right? Dealing with flakiness rather than writing new tests. And that's why you have to think about this. And during the interview, again, this whole video of today is about interview. When you are asking people during the assessment to write some code or architecture, I personally seen very few who actually pull the solid principle. A lot of people start building it in the wrong way, which is basically signals to me that folks who learn automation, they learn basics about coding without diving deeper into coding patterns like factory write pattern or templating patterns, solid principles, and other programming important foundational knowledge without which you can, again, we go back to foundation, right? And which reveals that the person is just simply a junior person. And by the way, I've seen people who have more than 5 years of experience in test automation and still junior. A lot. It's not because they are just started that, it's because they haven't progressed, or many folks in test automation are former manual testers that do not have formal computer science education. So they never learn about this. So I think hopefully for a lot of folks watching this, if you wanted your resume or your LinkedIn profile be on top of the pile, go back and learn these fundamental things, because that's what's going to make the difference for you to get your dream job right now, right? Forget about AI. Mykola made a very good comment. AI could be your worst enemy if you don't know what you're doing. If you are smart, AI will make you smarter, right? And vice versa. So be careful what you're playing with. Really good piece of advice from both of you. Really good. And I heard that Vasyl has a bonus, right? Besides five pitfalls we just mentioned today, he has something to share with all of you. Vasyl, what it would be.
Yeah, that could be funny. And listen, the kind of great red flag for me on the interview when the candidate, especially a senior candidate, is googling simple questions, and the keyboard typing. I see the eyes of the candidate reading the text, etc. And it's hard to be involved of the interviewer side into such conversation. I know that we have internet access, etc. But if you have camera on and the keyboard typing, it's hard to focus on your answers. We, of course, once you are doing the live coding session, etc., and you forget some methods in the playwright, etc., we are allowing you to use Google ChatGPT, but only for the purpose if you forgot some stuff, because it's a real life, right? On your day-to-day job, we are Googling, and that's just okay. So yeah, that was my bonus, and yeah, just pretend at least not to go. Nope.
Or be honest, say, "Hey, I'm sorry. I mean, I just have a brain fog, or I forgot
100%. Yeah.
about this. Yeah, can I just use the Google or Chat GPT?" And a lot of times, interviewers are okay with this. We understand that people just don't know everything. I mean, it's impossible. You may forget, or you forgot the syntax. I mean, thanks to the Copilot and the modern code completion tools that enables you to code in a Visual Studio or another IDE, right? With the if you forgot the syntax. But what's important is the communication. Again, coming back to communication. Thank you, Vasyl, for sharing the bonus hint for the interviewers. Very important. Again, we're going to repeat five things we discussed today. Number one, lack of preparation. So prepare yourself. It's very important. Don't go to interview without warming up. Spend at least a couple weeks before you go on the market. Number two is poor understanding of QA fundamentals. Make sure you revisit them under modern, right, interpretation. Make sure that what do you fundamentals try to apply in today's fast-paced environment, and how would you refer it during the interview. Number three is not staying up to date in the industry trends. I like that as well, because a lot of folks don't follow the trends. They don't go conferences, they don't go meetups, they don't watch any, channels or read any articles on Medium. Highly recommend to find two or three evangelists and follow them, and on a weekly basis try to see what's going on. It's very important. It basically shows that not only you're interested in what you do, but you become an expert in this, right? Number four is lack of problem solving skills. Huge one, right? Debugging, right? Be able to debug a problem, be able to tackle the problem, and start converse. Talk to your interviewer during the problem solving, trying to understand what they are trying to ask you. Right? A very important skill set, problem solving. You have to. I mean, all our job is problem solving day and night, right? And number five is focusing on automation architecture. And with a poor architecture, you won't be go you won't be able to go beyond maybe 20, 30 tests. Once you get to hundreds, architecture plays a huge role. And Mykola shared a great example of porting the test from Cypress to Playwright, which is suffering with. And I think this is a very important point he made. And thank you for sharing with this. And obviously, the bonus from Vasyl is about, if you don't know something, it's okay. Well, humans just ask to reference it. Again, you can Google it, you can chat GPT that, but talk, out loud. Don't just go and try to like sneak it. Say, listen, unfortunately, I forgot about this, which is fine. This is great. Anything else, Vasyl or you, Mykola, would like to add on top of what we discussed today? Or
Can I ask?
maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask a bonus question to Vasyl. Do you
Absolutely.
stop do you stop actually the interview when you notice that candidate is cheating?
Oh no! Listen, I have this like for maybe 2 times. I still do not have a like condition. I do not use for somebody to Google, but I had like 2 candidates so far. I think with the third candidate, I would actually ask him, to uh, to do something about, because why then we are wasting our time here, right?
I
Yeah.
think I was
No,
curious.
I have my stories about that. I usually stop interview if I notice, let's say that we've interviewed for middle or senior level as dads. I have certain expectations. And if I see the person not fulfilling the expectation, I don't want to waste the time. So sometimes I'm sorry, I will have to cut the interview short. I don't want to waste your time and explain why. Also, I said the interview is a two-way street. Means that yes, we're asking you questions, but I want to give you feedback, which you can take it as a lesson learned, right? And go back and educate yourself. And I give feedback to the person what they have to strengths in their skill set before they proceed forward with the interview. So I would like to share the piece of advice. Again, we work with US based companies, top reputable Fortune 500 companies whose expectation is way higher than other companies. And that's why when people grade themselves on certain levels, I say, listen, it's different, obviously, from country to country, from continent to continent, but the every company has own expectation. So that level doesn't mean anything, to be honest. You'll be surprised how many times I've seen folks that has only 2 years of experience know probably 10 times more than people who have 10 years of experience. So it doesn't mean that you have 10 years behind your belt by picking your nose and pushing papers, right? Versus person who for 2 years and a good background education, computer science, right? So the time is not matter. Is your skill set, your talent, and your fundamental knowledge. I think that's what makes a pivotal point, and how well you prepared for interview. So all these things are very important. Thank you guys for sharing all these 5 things with the community. I hope the folks watching us going to enjoy this, and we will see everybody next week.
Yeah, thank you. Don't forget to
Thank
share
you.
and like.
Absolutely.